This 25-minute video is all about the rear loader garbage truck. We cover so many interesting facts here, it's best to watch this video all the way through. And you can jump to a specific topic by using the timeline in the description. We look at many exterior features of this garbage truck. We look at how the three different blades work, and their corresponding hydraulic cylinders. We look at how the garbage is loaded into the back. We go over the parts again with a 3/4 view for better understanding. And we go over the parts again with a rear view for even more understanding. We learn how the operator dumps a rear loader dumpster into the hopper. We also learn how a 64-gallon trash can is dumped into the hopper. We learn how the two packing controls works. And finally, we get to learn how the two unloading controls work. All right here, right now.
Welcome to Feed Your Brain.
This is a garbage truck, or trash truck, or waste collection truck. And it is a rear loader, because all of the trash is loaded into the back, or rear, here, by either the driver of the truck, or a second person, who stands here while on a route from stop to stop. Let's learn as much as we can about this garbage truck, so we can feed our brains with lots of knowledge, and let's learn how this rear loader works, and let's learn as many names of the parts as we can. This is the cab. And of course, these are the wheels. And if you'll notice, there are 2 wheels here. And 2 wheels here, so there are a total of 6 wheels on this garbage truck. Since the cab is up high, there are 2 steps, here and here. And a long handlebar here, for the driver to be able to step up into the cab. The proper and safe method to enter any truck cab is with 3 points of contact. Either with 2 feet on steps and 1 hand gripping a handlebar, or 1 foot on a step and both hands holding onto handlebars. The second handlebar on the left will be somewhere inside the cab. This is a door the operator can open to reach in behind the ejector blade. And to reach up to this door, there is a step here and a step here. And a handlebar here to grab a hold of. This is the container, or body. And this entire area here is the tailgate. Let's now look at a cutaway profile view, or side view. Since we can see inside the truck, we call it a cutaway. And we are looking inside the truck through the driver's side of the truck. Here is the container, or you can call it the body. This entire area is the tailgate. So now let's look at what is going on with the mechanics of this garbage truck. In red are the cylinders, these are hydraulic cylinders, and the inside of the cylinder gets filled up with pressurized hydraulic oil. This is what powers the cylinders. This part of the cylinder is the piston rod, and at the end of the piston rod is the actual piston, which is not shown here. This area here, where the garbage or waste is first collected, is called the hopper. And this edge or lip is called the hopper sill. This metal plate here is called the slider blade. It is called a slider because it slides up and down this recessed channel here. The slider blade slides up and down in order to move the sweep blade up and down. And the sweep blade is what scoops the waste from the hopper and into the storage container. This is the ejector blade inside the container body. So now let's see how all of these parts work together. Let's look first at just the slider blade and understand how it moves. This is the slider blade and its corresponding hydraulic cylinder. This slider blade only functions because of this hydraulic cylinder and piston rod and piston that are inside the cylinder, along with the pressurized hydraulic oil. So the cylinder is mounted here on the inside side of the tailgate, and the cylinder can rotate up and down. And the end of the piston rod is mounted to the top end of the slider blade here, and the piston rod can rotate with the movement of the slider blade. And then the slider blade is held in position by this channel here, where it's connected to this channel by rectangular boots here and here. So to move the slider blade up, pressurized hydraulic fluid needs to enter the base port here, and fill up the cylinder chamber on this side of the piston. By doing so, the piston rod is pushed out of the cylinder with great force. And the result is then that the slider blade moves up along the path of the channel that it's attached to. Then, attached to the slider blade is the sweep blade, and the sweep blade gets its ability to rotate with a lot of force by a pair of hydraulic cylinders attached here. Notice how the base of the cylinder is mounted to the top of the slider blade, and the piston rod is mounted to the end of the sweep blade. So in this position, pressurized hydraulic fluid is in the base of the cylinder, which keeps the swing blade in this bent position. For the swing blade to swing outward, pressurized hydraulic fluid needs to enter the piston rod side port here, where then the piston rod will be pushed into the cylinder, making the piston rod retract, and therefore, the sweep blade will then swing outward towards the rear of the truck. Now let's look at the ejector blade, which is here. And it's mounted to a frame, here. The ejector blade gets its power from a long telescopic hydraulic cylinder mounted like this, here. This is called a telescopic cylinder, because with such a long reach needed, there are several piston cylinders nested within each other, allowing for a longer distance to be covered, and extending out like a telescope. At the beginning of a trash pickup route, this ejector blade is in this rearmost position first. Then, at the first stop, the waste enters the hopper this way. Then the operator uses the control knobs on the passenger side of the tailgate, located here, to lower the slide blade down, which also lowers down the sweep blade. Then the operator makes sure that no hands, or arms, or any person is near this hopper area, and it's completely clear and safe to lower the sweep blade. This area here is considered the pinch zone hazard, where the sweep blade gets really close to the hopper sill, and this is a dangerous area to stay clear from. Then the operator activates the two control knobs on the side. And the sweep blade goes into motion, scooping the waste from the hopper into the container. Note here, this is where the sweep blade stops its motion, and this is where the slider blade and sweep blade stop moving, and remain like this while the garbage truck then drives to another location. As the container fills up with more waste, the waste is being compressed against the ejector blade. Also, while along a route, the ejector blade slowly moves forward, which is towards the cab, without the operator needing to do anything. Notice also how the telescopic hydraulic cylinder is retracting here, one piston cylinder into the next, just like a telescope. And here, the ejector blade is all the way forward, as close to the cab as it can get, and the container is as full as it can get, and all of the trash is compacted as much as it can be. So now it's time to dump out the full load at a waste collection site. So the garbage truck backs up on the platform, and the tailgate hangs over the dump area. Then the operator activates the lever to lift up and open the tailgate. And hydraulic fluid enters the rod side of the cylinder, making the cylinder side move up, thereby making the tailgate move up. Now with the tailgate fully open, the operator activates the ejector blade, and the ejector blade is pushed to the rear of the container by the power of the telescopic cylinder mounted to it, and the ejector blade then pushes out all of the waste into the pit at the waste collection facility. Now let's go over all the parts again, this time looking at an angled view of the tailgate, to get an even better understanding of where the parts are located, and what the names are again, so we can feed our brain with a deeper understanding of what we just went over. This, again, is the sweep blade, and here it is with this angled view. This is the position that the sweep blade stays in while the garbage truck is traveling and not in use. Here is the sweep blade's corresponding hydraulic cylinder, which gives the sweep blade its power, and there are two of these cylinders, one on each side of the slider blade. Notice how this hydraulic cylinder is mounted to the top end of the slider blade. This entire part can, in general terms, be called the cylinder, but to be more specific with the terminology, just this part is the actual cylinder. So then this part is the piston rod, since it is the rod that is attached to the piston, and the piston is this part here, the disc inside the cylinder upon which the hydraulic pressure is pushed against. This is the slider blade, and here is the slider blade on this angled view. Here is the slider blade's corresponding hydraulic cylinder, and there is one on each side of the tailgate wall. Notice how the cylinder end is mounted to a metal mount welded to the inside wall of the tailgate. And the piston rod side is mounted to the top end of the slider blade. The slider blade is kept in position by being mounted to this angled channel here. The sides of the slider blade have a rectangular boot at the top end as well as the bottom end that fit within this recessed channel. This is the hydraulic cylinder that lifts up the entire tailgate, and there is one on each side of the tailgate. And this entire part is considered the tailgate. This part is called the hopper. This is where the waste is first collected in the garbage truck. This is the hopper sill. And during operation of the sweep blade, it's very important that no one is standing next to the hopper and hopper sill, and especially, no hands or arms should be anywhere near the hopper sill during operation of the sweep blade, because the sweep blade sweeps its powerful blade right up next to this hopper sill, and any fingers, hands, or arms in the way here will get crushed by the movement of the sweep blade. And this is called a sill since it's the horizontal lower member of the rear of the garbage truck. Just like with a window, the lower horizontal member of a window is called a window sill. There is a step here on the driver's side, and there is a step in the back, here, on the passenger's side, as well. One or two extra people, in addition to the driver, can stand back here on these two rear steps. And there are two grab handles on the driver's side, and there are two grab handles on the passenger side as well, so that the person standing on the driver's side platform, or the person standing on the passenger side platform, can hold on to a grab handle with each hand. And this also fulfills the 3 points of contact for holding on and maintaining balance. This is the rear reflector strip, which reflects light off of it at night, allowing the rear of the vehicle to be noticed better at nighttime. These 4 red circles, here, 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 and here, are what's called marker lights. They are used to let other vehicles know the size of this tailgate and where the edges are. The lights mark where the tailgate is for nighttime drivers, so that's where the name marker lights comes from. These 2 lights here, these 2 lights here, these 2 lights here, and these 2 lights here, are all red lights. All vehicles need rear red lights so the vehicle can be seen at night from behind, and also red lights can be used as blinker lights as well, for turning signals. And if all red lights flash at the same time, those are the hazard lights, and hazard lights warn vehicles from behind that something is wrong with the vehicle. These 2 lights here, and these 2 lights here, are white backup lights. Vehicle lights are white when the vehicle is moving in the direction of the lights. So even when this garbage truck is backing up in reverse, it still needs to use white lights to back up, since the vehicle is moving backwards, and these white lights need to be used to back up even during daylight. And this black circle here is an alarm, so when this large garbage truck backs up in reverse, it also must use this alarm to warn anyone standing behind this vehicle that it is moving backwards, since the view of the driver is limited in the back. And this red circle here is a reflector, which reflects light at night, and helps others to see the edges of this tailgate better at night, and it only is effective when light at night is shined on it. Now let's look at the rear view of the tailgate closer up, and review the parts again, to help feed our brains even more, so we can really get to know these parts. These lights up on top, and these lights down below, are all referred to as the tail lights. You now know that these red lights are for nighttime use, and can be used as blinkers as well. And you now know that these white lights are used when the garbage truck backs up in reverse. And this black circle is actually an alarm that sounds when the garbage truck is moving backwards in reverse. These are the grab handles. These are here so that one person can stand on the rear platform on the driver's side and hold themselves up by grabbing hold of this handle, and one person can stand on the rear platform on the passenger side and grab hold of the right handle. Each side of the garbage truck has 2 rear grab handles, but only these 2 show up in this view of the truck. This is the sweep blade. This powerful blade is what scoops the waste from the hopper into the container of the garbage truck. And this is the hopper sill. It's the wide edge that's the top edge of the back of the hopper. And this edge and area must be completely clear of any hands or arms or any person standing near it when the sweep blade is in use by the operator. This is the slider blade. This powerful blade slides up and down and it moves along these two tracks here and here. And attached to the lower part of the slider blade is the sweep blade. Then attached from the top of the slider blade to the top of the sweep blade are two cylinders. And of course, now you know better that these are not just cylinders, because we discussed earlier how these are more specifically hydraulic cylinders. And within each hydraulic cylinder is a piston, which is this disc here, and attached to the piston is a piston rod. And it is the movement of the piston, and therefore the movement of the piston rod, that moves the sweep blade in its sweeping motion. Then giving power to the slider blade are these two cylinders, here and here. They are each attached to the top of the slider blade, and then the base of the cylinders are attached to these mounts here and here, which are attached to the inner sides of the tailgate. If you remove the swing blade, and the slider blade, and the four cylinders that power them, you then will see inside the container like this. And inside the container you'll see the large ejector blade, which covers the height and width of the entire container. This area is the hopper, and you can see how it's curved, like the inside of a tube. And here are the two recessed tracks that are used by the slider blade to roll up and down with. We haven't discussed these two parts yet. This is a hook, and this is a cable. And the cable is very long and is wound up into a spool here. Do you know what this hook and cable are used for? To better understand, we need to look again at the profile image of the garbage truck. And this time we see the addition of the hook and cable. And we see a large waste bin. This waste bin is called a rear loader dumpster. And this rear loader dumpster can only be used with rear loader garbage trucks. The more common dumpsters look like this. And notice the openings here and here. These are for use only with a front loader garbage truck, which has the fork in front that go into these openings to lift up this particular dumpster. Now let's see how this rear loader dumpster is emptied into the hopper of this rear loader garbage truck. Here is the profile view of the dumpster. The operator, or the extra person on the route, has to walk over and push the dumpster over to the back of the tailgate. Next, the operator, or extra person, releases the hook from its mount. Then both the hook and cable are pulled by hand over to the back of the dumpster. Then the operator pulls the hook and cable down over the back of the dumpster, and pulls the cable down at the center of the container, between the two lids. Then the operator connects the hook to the metal loop at the base of the dumpster, like this. Then the operator walks over to the tailgate controls, which are located here, on the passenger side of the tailgate, and the operator pulls on the knob that retracts the cable, which then makes the cable get shorter again, thereby lifting up the bottom of the dumpster. So now the heavy dumpster is held up by the hook here, which is then held up by the cable here, and then the dumpster is held up by the edge of the tailgate here, which we said earlier is called the hopper sill. And the retracting cable pulls the dumpster up higher even more, which makes the waste inside the dumpster start to move out. Now the dumpster is tilted up even higher, so then all of the waste inside the dumpster starts to pour out into the hopper. And here is the final tilting of the dumpster. Look how high the cable pulls up the bottom of the dumpster. And this is when all of the waste is dumped out of the dumpster. This entire time, the operator is standing away from the dumpster and hopper, and is standing on the passenger side of the tailgate, at the tailgate controls. Nobody should go near the hopper area or hopper sill or dumpster when it's being dumped out like this. Then the operator uses the controls to activate the sweeper blade and slide blade, which scoops the waste from the hopper into the container. Then the operator uses the controls to lower down the dumpster. Then the operator releases the hook from the loop at the base of the dumpster, and then the hook is placed back onto the loop at the rear of the tailgate. Then the operator pushes the dumpster back to where it was taken from. And now the operator drives on to the next location on the route. So then what about this type of trash can? How is it dumped into the rear loader garbage truck? This is a 64-gallon trash can with wheels. It has a lid on top, large wheels in the back. And importantly, it has an extended lip here, which you'll see soon what this edge is used for. These large trash cans are too heavy for a person to lift when full of waste. So how are these trash cans lifted into the hopper? Let's look at the garbage truck again. And now we see that another part has been added to it. This part is the trash can lifter. Let's look at the 64-gallon trash can again, this time in profile view. This trash can tipper will hold up and tip over this large and very heavy 64-gallon trash can. Notice the hook here. This is what will hold up the weight of the large trash can. And notice the lip here, this extended part of the trash can rests on top of the hook on the trash can tipper. But first, the operator of the garbage truck needs to park safely and get out of the truck, or the extra helper who's standing on one of the rear platforms needs to walk over and move the trash can over onto the hook on the tipper. Then the operator or helper needs to flip open the lid. Then the worker goes over to the manual controls, which are on the passenger side of the tailgate, and activates the tipper to tip up. And look what's underneath the tipper. Do you recognize what this is? That's right, this is a hydraulic cylinder, and it powers this tipper to tip up the trash can, which then dumps out all of the waste from the can into the hopper. Then the worker pulls on the controls so that the slide blade and sweeper blade activate and move the waste from the hopper into the container. Then the worker activates the controls to lower the tipper cylinder, which then lowers the trash can back down to the ground. Then the worker closes the lid on the trash can and then rolls the trash can back to where it originally was. Then the garbage truck drives on to the next location. To learn so many facts about what goes into the different colored trash carts, check out my other video titled, you guessed it, What Goes into the Trash Carts. Let's now look at the hand controls for the slide blade and sweep blade. These hand controls are located on the rear of the tailgate, on the passenger side of the tailgate wall, here. These two controls are what we are focusing on now. And here is the instructions label for these two controls. This is the packing control label, which is posted right over these two yellow and orange handles. And to better understand how these controls work, let's bring back the profile view of the garbage truck that shows the sweep blade and the slide blade. First, here is the sweep blade handle, which is color-coded with a yellow band around its handle. Here is the same sweep blade handle shown on the packing control label. And here is the sweep blade shown within the tailgate of the garbage truck. Second, here is the slide blade handle, which is color-coded with an orange band around its handle. Here is the same slide blade handle shown on the packing control label. And here is the slide blade shown within the tailgate of the garbage truck. The two handles will perform what's called a semi-automatic cycle operation. The word semi means half. So this is a half-automatic cycle operation, because this operation is split into two parts, and this is done this way for safety reasons. The first half of the cycle operation is to pull both handles, which means that both handles are moved toward the operator. And this is done at the same time. When both handles are pulled, number 1, the sweep blade will open, as shown here. And number 2, the slide blade will move down to the hopper loading sill area, as shown here. And this part of the cycle stops here for safety reasons, so that the operator can make absolutely sure that no hands or arms are within this area, and this hopper sill area is completely clear of anybody. Then part 2 of the cycle can begin, which is to push both handles. which means that both handles are moved away from the operator. And this is done at the same time. When both handles are pushed, number 1, the sweep blade will close, as shown here. And number 2, the slide blade will move up into the tailgate, as shown here. And this now completes the semi-automatic cycle operation. Now let's look at the unloading controls, which are found here on the front side of the container at the driver's side of the garbage truck. Here is the unloading controls label, which is posted right next to the controls. And these are the 2 handles used for the unloading controls. And inside here are the valves that the 2 handles open and close, which therefore opens and closes the movement of hydraulic fluid, which is pumping at high pressure through these valves and through these tubes. This top handle is to activate the ejector blade, which is located within the container. The ejector blade is what empties out the payload after the container is full of compacted waste. The operator pushes on the handle or moves the handle away from them to retract the ejector blade, which means the ejector blade will slide towards the cab. The operator pulls on the handle or moves the handle closer to them to extend the ejector blade, which means the ejector blade will slide towards the tailgate. To move the tailgate up and down, the lower handle is used. The lower handle is pushed in or moved away from the operator to lower the tailgate. And the lower handle is pulled out or moved closer to the operator to raise the tailgate. To learn about garbage truck side loaders, front loaders, and roll-off bins, check out my other video about these 3 amazing garbage trucks as well. And to learn more about garbage truck side loaders, as well as the amazing power of hydraulics, check out my other video as well. We hope you have learned a lot from this video. Please hit like and subscribe, that helps a lot. And thank you for watching.
Feed your brain.